This is a president who has actually lost money for being president of the United States. I don't remember these same type of questions being asked of my predecessor about a career politician who was clearly profiting off of this office.
Before you reach a negative conclusion about Donald Trump, it may do you well to recall that he was a successful businessman who had no connection with politics until he decided to run for politics in 2016. But then once a notion is set in motion, the left will do just about anything to keep it afloat. Well, I'm glad to have you here, and here's another interesting episode of Karoline Leavitt really kicking it as the press secretary to Mr. President. Let's get to it already.
The president posted another ad this week for his Trump meme coin. The group that's running that coin is encouraging people to buy in order to win a dinner this month with the president. Why is the president planning to attend a dinner for the top investors in his coin?
Look, the president is abiding by all conflict of interest laws. The president has been incredibly transparent with his own personal financial obligations throughout the years. The president is a successful businessman, and I think, frankly, it's one of the many reasons that people reelected him back to this office.
There are at least some people who are buying this coin who seem to view it as an opportunity to influence the president's views. There was a logistics company this week that said they would buy $20 million in the coin in order to advocate for free trade between the U.S. and Mexico. If buyers are buying for that reason, are they wasting their money?
Look, I can assure you the president acts with only the interests of the American public in mind, putting our country first and doing what's best for our country, full stop. That's his intention, and that's what he's focused on.
And given that you noted he is a successful businessman, do you know if the president has any plans to meet with any of the folks involved with any of the family businesses over there, or see any of the sites that are going to be new Trump?
Not to my knowledge, and let me just get to the premise of your question that both of you have raised. I think it's frankly ridiculous that anyone in this room would even suggest that President Trump is doing anything for his own benefit. He left a life of luxury and a life of running a very successful real estate empire for public service, not just once, but twice. And again, the American public reelected him back to this White House because they trust he acts in the best interests of our country and putting the American public first. This is a president who has actually lost money for being president of the United States. I don't remember these same type of questions being asked of my predecessor about a career politician who was clearly profiting off of this office. That is not what President Trump does, and this White House holds ourselves to the highest of ethical standards.
Facts show that Donald Trump is one of the few presidents in the history of America who was never a career politician, and as such, he has never been dependent on government funding, neither does he need a salary. That's just a fact. However, as much as I agree that President Trump's meme coin has raised a lot of dust in the last weeks, no sensible individual should expect that the president will totally overlook a moment to have a friendly and harmless meeting with investors in a business he once run. It's quite unfair for anyone to expect Donald Trump not to have a life outside of being the president of the US. Now, here's the thing. Could being the president give his business a form of advantage? Of course. But is he, Donald Trump, going to leverage that? The answer is simple. Donald Trump, was killing it in business long before he became president, and he will still be successful after his tenure.
Phil.
Thank you. There's this Reuters report that the U.S. is in talks with Israel about an American-led post-war administration in Gaza. Is that accurate? Are these talks ongoing?
We are in constant communication and dialogue with our counterparts and our allies and friends in Israel. Ron Dermer was here at the White House yesterday meeting with members of President Trump's team. As for the situation in Gaza, the president and his entire national security team have made it very clear we want to see the hostages released from Gaza. That is a priority for this administration. As for what that looks like, and even moving beyond that, I'm not going to get into the details of plans that frankly may or may not have even been proposed, but I can emphasize what the president holds closest in his heart right now, and that's the release of all of the hostages in Gaza.
Aside the US, I can't think of a better post-war administration for Gaza. I mean, if its current leadership, if the leadership of Gaza was so good, they wouldn't have been at war with Israel in the first place.
And then there's been some conservative pushback to some of these salt tax, the salt tax cap. For instance, Majority Leader Steve Scalise said that bringing back the state and local tax deduction would essentially mean, quote, 45 states are subsidizing 5 states that have very high taxes imposed by leftist governors. Is he wrong? Is it fair to ask Red Indiana to bail out blue New York?
Well, look, this is an ongoing discussion on the Hill. There's a lot of disagreement on Capitol Hill right now about the SALT tax proposal, and we will let them work it out. As for the tax provisions in the reconciliation bill, the priorities of this president, he has made them incredibly clear. No tax on tips for our hardworking service workers, no tax on Social Security for our well-deserving seniors who have worked their whole lives to pay into this system, no tax on overtime for hardworking Americans as well, and there's a plethora of other priorities the president wants to see in this bill. Anyone who opposes this bill will be opposing the largest tax cut in American history. They will be voting to raise taxes by the tune of $4 trillion on the middle class of this country, and we look forward to holding them accountable for that. Everyone on Capitol Hill on both sides of the aisle should be supportive of the president's tax priorities.
Anyone with the slightest strain of common sense knows that these tax cuts are necessary. I understand the political divide and all, but isn't it funny that people who were voted rather to represent the interests of their constituents at Capitol Hill are the same people, kicking hard against the cuts? Well, it's on you if you still support some of these representatives.
Can you talk about this effort for the U.S. to take over the distribution of aid in Gaza, to exclude Israel, but also international organizations said this effort militarizes aid?
I would reject that characterization by whatever groups you are citing. Kelly.
Karoline, thank you. I want to get back to the First Lady Melania Trump dealing with foster children. That's an important component in American life to see what happens to the future of our children, particularly in foster care. Can you explain the significance of this development between the First Lady and the housing and urban development?
Yes, absolutely. It's millions of dollars that will go into a program that helps these children transition out of foster care to have productive and positive lives. And I'd like to share a personal story since you asked if I may. I hope the First Lady won't mind. I was at an event in Florida last year, and I was approached by a gentleman who was a foster dad, and he had taken in I think it was 6 or 7 foster children. And he spoke to me. He had recognized me in my work for President Trump's campaign at the time. And the little boy who was with him talked about the personal relationship that he had with First Lady Melania Trump. And the conversation she had had with him and how she really encouraged him to be the best that he could be during her first term here at the White House, and how even after she and President Trump left the White House, she kept in very close touch with this young foster child. It was a touching moment that I will never forget, and it speaks to the heart of this First Lady and the great work that she is doing for foster children. And this is certainly a very big announcement that I know our Secretary of Housing and Urban Development is in particular very excited about, and we can certainly get you all the details on that program.
Apparently, an apple never falls far from its tree. Karoline Leavitt's story about Melania Trump's heart for foster children drives home the need for stable people in positions of power. Now, talking about an apple that never falls far from its tree, it's obvious that Donald Trump and his wife Melania, are people of very beautiful hearts, regardless of their soft exterior. Once again, it drives home the point, the need for stable people in all positions of power. I'm talking about governors, I'm talking about presidents, and all of that. We all need to agree that Donald Trump's leadership exemplifies stoicism, integrity, and unflinching dedication to making America great again. Now, if you want more of these clips, please do well to like this clip. Yeah, it helps with the algorithm, and please do well to subscribe. All right, fam, see you on the next time. Please stay fully in charge of your common sense. Peace out.